All right, so we're going to talk about Tony Ferguson and Derek Lewis. Now, I recorded my other videos today much earlier. I wanted to make sure I was in like a good headspace to do this one because this is a video that's not just kind of like, oh, this happened, some drama happened. Like, I want to talk about the end of guys' career. I want to make sure I talk about this in a way that's respectful and also kind of comprehensive about the reality of the combat sports game, because understanding what it's like at the end of guys' career, you know, is important to understanding the entire dynamic of combat sports and what these guys put on the line and what their life is going to look like afterwards, etc. It's because it's like Tony Ferguson and Derek Lewis were in a similar situation last night. Not the same, but similar, you know? And it just brings into focus, again, for me, that I hate this part of the game. But this part of the game does potentially lend you these incredibly, like, glorious moments for guys, you know? Because it's all on the line for real. You know, you always say that. It's like every single fight, it's all on the line. It's all on the line. It's all on the line. But when a guy's lost, you know, 5 in a row, you know, whatever, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, it's for real all on the line now, you know? You're 38 years old. You're 39 years old. You've lost 4 or 5 in a row. It's all on the line, dude. You're either going to win this fight or this ride is over. Now, me personally, I've thought about this. I would struggle with that regardless. Like even if I won, you know what I mean? Like I would not be one of these guys that would do the thing where they just keep on going. I personally wouldn't do it because you basically have a few different groups of fighters and kind of like, where do they retire? Like where does the ride end? Right? Because you have some that retire in absolute sheer glory. Khabib, you know, GSP, and Amanda Nunes. I would even say Robbie Lawler. You knock a guy out in 37 seconds in your you know, farewell fight. Obviously, you can beat guys in the UFC. You know what I mean? And so people who still clearly can compete at the highest level and they've got something left in the tank and they retire, that is your best case scenario for your brain and kind of, you know, for your legacy or whatnot. Because no one has to see this kind of diminished version of you and that affect the way that they remember you, you know? And then there's this other kind where they lose a few in a row. You know, you still so this is over here. They won their last fight, right? That's kind of like the category I'm talking about. They won their last fight. Then you have this group over here that lost multiple fights in a row, but they're not like, you know, like it's like you can see, you're like, dude, they're still good, man. You know, they're still good, but they're hanging it up for this, that, or the other. Like I would argue that George Masvidal is like the quintessential example of this for me, right? And I guarantee people would argue with me, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. What I think is that, and I, you know, be totally frank, I don't know how much George would like this take, but I think the main difference that you saw between Masvidal, who fought for the BMF belt, and then Masvidal, who lost his last 4, is not a diminishment of his skills. He looked good to me. I think what the difference was he was fighting only the top guys in the division. If you go back, I mean, I'm not going to pull up his stats right now. It's not that kind of video, but if you really go through, you know, his entire career, I mean, he absolutely has top guys on his resume. That's not in question. I'm not saying that he was like fighting scrubs or anything. And you know, but periodically he would fight guys who were absolutely tip top of the division, but not consecutively, you know, top guy. You got like this group of the absolute best guys in the division. And all of a sudden that's all Masvidal's fighting. Because if you look at his run, I mean, if you really, you know, surgically, dynamically, you know, dissect his run, you've got Brett, you know, what he was doing before. He's got a break. He comes back. He fights Darren Till, incredible knockout. Ben Askren, incredible knockout. Nate Diaz, you know, BMF fight. And he's off to the moon. Okay. I mean, honest, like just being like kind of objective. Kamaru Usman, prime Kamaru Usman. He resembles Nate Diaz or Ben Askren or, you know, Darren Till in terms of a stylistic matchup. Darren Till's a good matchup for Masvidal. Darren Till's excellent. You know, I think Darren Till had one of the worst kind of like confidence breaking streaks, but he also is not going to grapple you. Masvidal's gap in his game was his ability to defend against wrestlers. And he's got Kamaru. He fights him twice. I mean, Kamaru Usman. Absolute top of the world in terms of being able to grab. Then Colby. And then Gilbert Burns. I mean, you know what I mean? We're talking about the absolute elite guys. And then he was like, you know what? If I can't beat these guys, I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to go do something else. I have money. And I respect that. I really do. Because you didn't have to watch him do the thing where everyone knows it's over except for him somehow. You know? And that's not what I'm saying Derek Lewis. I'm not talking about Derek Lewis in that conversation. I'm definitely talking about Tony Ferguson though. And when it comes to like, you know, trying to think of like other guys who have kind of, you know, and then there's this like middle ground between Masvidal and the guys that just like, you're all, dude, you're done. Like this is nothing against you. No one can do this forever, but you're done, right? There's kind of like a middle ground there somewhere where they go a little bit too long and it's just kind of like, gosh, man, this is getting kind of sad. And then there are the guys where it's like, dude, hang it up, man. Like you're doing yourself no favors. There is no scenario like this world this thing that you're telling yourself where you're going to get yourself back to where you were. That is not going to happen. It is a harsh reality. It is an unforgiving game, but that is not going to happen. And what you're doing now is you're taking your already significantly damaged body and you are making it much, much worse because now you're 39 years old. One of the reasons that you are not fighting the way that you used to is because your body does not repair itself the way that it used to. And you are compounding this problem, chasing a dream that is impossible. Okay. And so my entire point here is Tony Ferguson has to stop fighting now. I mean, just straight up. Like, yeah, I mean, I take that back. He doesn't have to do anything. Okay. I'm not his family. You know, I saw Gaethje talk about that in the press conference yesterday, and he was like, "Look, I'm not his family. I'm not going to tell him what to do." And that's fighter code. You know, as far, you know, our man code as far as he's concerned. And maybe I'm breaking that by saying that I don't want to see him fight again. You know, and I say that. Because I really don't like the visual of seeing guys getting their brains beaten in when I know the reason that they're unable to defend themselves the way that they used to is from continuously getting their brain beaten in for my amusement. There's something about like I love this sport more than anything in the entire world. There's nothing I love more than this sport. And I mean, you know, my family, whatever, but like, you know what I mean? This channel and this sport, which are kind of the same thing. That's all this channel is just like an expression of how much I love this fucking sport, dude. But that doesn't mean that it has no, you know, there's no kind of conflict in it at all for me, right? Like there's not much. I see it as like the ultimate test of what you're built out of. Like how much, what will you sacrifice? How hard will you work? Can you put it together when it really matters, when the pressure's on? How will you perform under the absolute most dire, you know, consequences for failure that you could ever imagine, and the level of success that you can reach if you succeed? But when this starts to happen for a guy like Tony Ferguson, right, like a guy who is so tough, where the reason why he's so beat up is because he's so tough and he was so entertaining and he was incredible to watch, and I rooted for him. But like when I can tell just as a person, like as an objective person, you know, that this guy is, he's not just like older. He's like, he's damaged now, you know? And of course he's damaged, right? Of course he's slower. Now people are going to slow down anyway when they get older, and that obviously affects everyone. But like in his case, it seems very obvious to me. I've watched some of his earlier fights. I watched one of his fights, you know, from like 7 years ago. I mean, that's obviously a long time ago, but good God. He is unrecognizable in the octagon versus that. Unrecognizable. Go watch. You know which fight I watched actually that was more recent than that? I watched the Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis fight that was on the undercard of the Khabib and Conor fight. Dude, go watch that fight. Seriously. Go watch that fight and then compare it to what you saw last night. Like there's no world where he comes back from this at all, you know? And what I'm saying is like his reaction time, the way he moves, like you could tell it's not just his body. There's more than that going on. Like he is, you know what I mean? And so there's a part of me that I feel guilty watching it, you know, like I don't like watching it. Like, did you guys, I'll give you the perfect example of what I'm talking about. And by the way, this isn't all doom and gloom here because we're going to talk about Derek Lewis and how being in that do or die situation can be like the best thing ever when a guy pulls off a thing like Derek Lewis did last night. I can't think of a time someone's done that, actually. Not recently. But like, you want to know what the ultimate version of what I'm talking about is? Ultimate. The absolute, like, if you're not understanding what I'm talking about in terms of the guilt, I guarantee you felt this if you saw this fight, was when Chuck Liddell came back to fight Tito Ortiz in the De La Hoya thing. If any of you guys watched that, just think about how you felt afterwards, dude. Like, I felt dirty. I felt dirty. It's the only way I could describe it was like, oh my God. I would literally watch, if I found out that there were two golfers, I live on a golf course. If I found out that there were two golfers who were getting in a fight on the tee box and they were 130 pounds and they were 75 years old, I would run out of my house and run down the golf course to be able to watch these two slapdick 70-year-olds throw terrible punches at each other. If I found out that there were two 13-year-olds fighting on the street, I would run out there to watch. Okay, I'm in for violence. Like, I am in, dude. I'm all in, man. I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the only time that I don't like watching it is when someone should not be fighting. Like where someone has given everything to the game, and by everything you mean like they can't take punishment. Like you can't take punches anymore. You know, there's clearly like long-term. I mean, like when Chuck just got folded up by Tito, like I don't know if you guys saw that, but it made me like physically ill. Like afterwards, I was like, man, that was awful. Another one was when Evander Holyfield came back and fought Vitor Belfort more recently. Like that was like, oh my God. And you're just like, what the? And also, and in that case, I'd met Evander Holyfield. Like I met Evander Holyfield and his son. Totally unrelated to this, like just a super random occurrence at like a conference thing that I was participating in. I was speaking on stage, and he was on before us. I talked to him. He had the same shoes as me, you know, and so I just bullshitted with him. And we talked to his son, and his son told us like he's like, dude, he really struggles, man. He can't like if he said something like if he tells you the same story twice, like he does that. You know, he'll do that like 10 minutes apart sometimes, like just. It happens. And so I knew that, right? Like that was in 2016. And then in whatever year this was, 2020 or whatever it was, he's out there against Vitor Belfort 4 years later, and he just crumbles to, I mean, Vitor Belfort, you know, with TRT Vitor, and he goes down the second that he's fighting, and you're like, what the fuck is he doing in there? You know what I mean? Why are they letting him do that? Now, at the same time, if the guy needs money, I'm in no position to be like, no, you can't make money this way. But I don't like it. I don't want to watch it, dude. It's the same thing with slap fighting. I don't want to watch that, dude. I don't care. I don't care about slap fighting. Like, I really don't care. If they go make $10 billion, good. Like, good. I don't care. I really don't care. But I'm not going to watch it. You know, I just don't like watching that shit. It's like the only violence I don't like watching, you know? And that's where Tony's at. You know, someone was saying in my live stream last night, they're like, I think Tony will go fight bare knuckle. I'm like, oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Please don't do that, dude. Dude, I mean, first of all, can you imagine Tony in bare knuckle 10 years ago? Ooh, Nelly. That would have been something to see, dude. But, yeah, I don't want to see that at all. And also it's like, dude, what? There's the other thing too, right? I talked about this on the live stream also. When one of the main reasons why the visual of the kind of the hard ending, you know, like there's a soft landing and there's a hard landing at the end of a fight career. Most people have it. Most people land hard, dude, honestly, but not potentially this hard. But part of it is like, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? Like, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to focus on? What's going to be the thing that gets you up in the morning, that gets you excited, you know? What are you going to do? And there are some people that you look at and you're like, this guy's built for retirement. He's going to be great. You know, GSP, Bisping, guys like that, Chael. They're going to keep busy, dude. They're going to do well. You know what I mean? They're going to do well. And they are doing well. And there are other guys that you look at and you're like, this guy was born to compete and fight, and that's it, dude. There's nothing else. There's just nothing else, dude. And so when it ends for them, what are they going to do? And I was saying on the live stream also last night, like there are these guys that, you know, that it's like they have this part of, I'm like almost treating this as like a character study, because I've been watching this documentary about Kelly Slater. If you guys know Kelly Slater, he's the single greatest surfer, competitive surfer ever by 100 miles. Won like 11 world titles. He has every record times 3. You know what I mean? But he's still surfing on the world tour, and he's 50, and he is not winning. You know, he won the Pipeline Masters in 2022, which was amazing, like incredible. He's crying, whatever, but like he's not winning anymore. But he's still out there. And I watched this documentary on YouTube that was up there. It's like this 11-part thing. It just sounds ridiculous, but I just got completely hooked on it because I found it fascinating. Because it's like I could see, first of all, I could see why he's losing. Because it's in his head, dude. Like, it's in his head that he, you know, they keep saying, oh man, you're so old. You know, you're so old. And he's looking at like he's looking at videos of himself surfing. He's like, you know, if I would have got in there and I would have, he's thinking so much. It's like, dude, fucking chill, dude. Do you think those young guys are doing that shit? They're not doing that. And you think that the reason they're beating you is because they're young? They're beating you because they're not doing what you're doing, dude. You're doing breathing exercises and fucking mental, you know, I love to surf. I love to surf. Dude, you don't need to do that if you love to surf. You know what I mean? If people really understand like the law of attraction and how that stuff actually works for real, not techniques that people tell you on how to make it work and all, not that shit. The way it really works. You need to absolutely crystal clear understand what you are putting out there. And so if you're sitting there and you're meditating and going, I love to surf. I just love being out there. Dude, that's, to me, it's like you're actually saying, I don't love to surf because I have to do this to tell myself that I love to surf. You know what I mean? Just love surfing. Like, just get all this shit out of your brain. You're the best surfer ever. Just go fucking surf, man. But at the same time, like, you know, I'm watching him and it's like, why is he still out there? It's like this thing that made him so great, it makes him crazy, where he's like, dude, what's he going to do? Like, this is his whole life. He's 50. There's no one even remotely close to his age. He's 2.5 times as old as some of these guys. And it's like, and you just look, you're like, what else is he going to do? Look at this guy's life. This is all he has. He doesn't know how to do anything except try to win, you know? And there's another one about Laird Hamilton. He's got no fucking hips, dude. Like, he can't walk. He cannot walk. And he's still, anytime there's big surf, he goes out in it. And I'm like, there's something so incredibly impressive about that and simultaneously so fucking sad, you know? Where it's all they have. And with fighting, it's that same thing, except they can't do it anymore. It's taken away from them, you know? You can surf as long as you want, dude. If you're Kelly Slater and you want to fucking compete till you're 80 and just lose, you can. I mean, he's the only one that could. But like, and Laird, right, do whatever you want, dude. Fighting, you can't do it. And so it's literally like this exact same thing, except it just gets taken from them. And the fuck, it gets beaten out of them. And so with Tony, I'm looking at him just like, fuck, I mean, this is the worst thing ever. I hate it, man. But he's got to he has to stop fighting. I don't want to see it. But at the same time, I'm like, what's he going to do? What is he going to do? I mean, I hope I'm wrong. But on the flip side of that, you got Derek Lewis, where he's potentially facing the end of his career, and he knows it, and he comes out. You saw how emotional he was after he got that win, dude, and he comes out and gets an incredible win like that, a flying knee out of the gate that lands. I wish that, man, if he would have starched him on that very first knee, can you imagine? I mean, it was still awesome. But can you imagine if he would have knocked him out with that knee? Good God. But man, that was beautiful, dude. That was beautiful. And, you know, with Derek Lewis, the kind of fighter he is, it's not the same kind of thing. You know, Tony was always like a long-term, like, you know, he needs some time to break you down. You know, like he needs some time to put it on you and break you down. And that's why, like, it's just, gosh, man, he's still so fucking tough. No one ever just gets him out of there. You know what I mean? No one gets him out of there. I mean, he got you know, choked by Bobby Green last night, but not before getting his fucking face pummeled. You know what I mean? So to me, Derek Lewis, I'm just very happy for him, dude. He looked very, very happy. And the reason why I said I wouldn't personally do it, you know, where I know myself and I know that I wouldn't chase it, is because I have this, I don't know, like this, like my personality for whatever reason, it's like the best way I could describe it is this. So let's say that we go on a vacation for 7 days to like Cancun or something, you know, like we go on a 7-day vacation. And I can never have fun on the last day. I can't do it. I can't, like on the, you know, where I know we're leaving the next day, even if we're flying out at 4 p.m., where I know it's our last day, it's our last night. Like, I can't stop thinking about the fact that it's the end, you know, where I'm like, geez, man, like I'm having a good, yeah, we're having a good time, but we're leaving tomorrow, you know? We're leaving tomorrow. The day before that, it's not even in my mind at all. I'm having the best time ever, dude. You know, it doesn't even enter my mind 2 days before we're leaving. We're in the middle of our trip. But that last day, man, I just can't shake that feeling. And so like, and that's just only one example of the exact same thing that I could give examples for across my entire life. And I know for sure if I was in that situation, that feeling would be so overwhelming that I would just be like, I can't do this. Like, I can't go out and pretend. I can't go out and pretend, dude. The ride's over. I know it's over, you know? But at the same time, then you get into this other thing. See, like with Tony, I mean, maybe it's about money and maybe it's not, but I mean, when it's about money, that's the thing. Like, you have my personality like that, you know it's over, but you need the money. And so you go out and you fight anyway because you don't have any other options. Now that situation is fucked. And that happens to so many guys. And dude, your body doesn't heal. You know, it doesn't heal. I've been talking about this since literally like the very first breakdown that I ever did on this channel, I think, if I remember correctly, was Tony Ferguson against Justin Gaethje. If I went and looked, if I had to bet, I would bet a solid amount of money. That's the very first fight that I was breaking down on this channel. And so that fight happened. And then I talked about this, talking about this concept immediately since then, which is think about the body, forget that there's like this electrical system inside of the body that, you know, that we can think, and then we make our arms move and we do whatever. And just think about it as a fucking meat suit, you know, like just think about, you know, skull on top of spine, on top, you know, and then your you know, skeletal structure, and then you have nerve endings that you know, go through the spinal column and go out to all of your things, and they send messages. Like, just think about how you're actually put together and built, and then think about how it functions. Electricity through these nerve endings that go to all these places starts at your brain, right? And then imagine just hanging that meat suit up on a hook, and then you just bap, you know, instead of a heavy bag, you're just whap, and you just lit this fucking thing up, and you were head kicking it and punching it and head kicking it and punching it, head kicking it. And then just think about what would be happening inside of this meat suit to the, you know, the cervical structure, and like the, you know, the connection between your head and your spine and your ribs and your knees and any other thing that this is this body. Like, you know, just think about what kind of damage you would do hitting that thing if it was just hanging there. And then think about, again, now come back and go, this is what needs to happen for this thing to actually work like a functioning, you know, meat suit. And then just think about the beating that Tony Ferguson took from Justin Gaethje. Just think about the Justin Gaethje fight. And then keep in mind that he's in his late 30s and that shit does not heal anymore. It heals, but not really, dude. Like, not the way that it would when you're 20. You could take these fucking shellackings when you're 20 and you'll heal up pretty good. I mean, you know, not perfect, but you'll heal up a hell of a lot better than when you're 37 years old. I mean, like, it's like if you say if you're measuring damage, let's say in any given fight, you know, if it's a really hellacious fight, that's 100, you know, that's a level 100 amount of damage. And when you're 20, you heal up, you know, 90 of that, right? And when you're 38, you heal up like 50 of that. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's why all these boxers that are super fucked up after their careers, all of them fought way late into their, you know, they fought late. They needed the money. They kept on fighting. Anyway, I don't know. I've been talking for 25 minutes. All I really want to say is that I don't want to see Tony Ferguson fight anymore. And that's because I am concerned for his future. And I mean, the guy is a savage. No one can take that away from him. The fact that I'm even having to like feel like I should even say this on the channel is because I know he's such a savage that like I think he's probably going to fight again, you know? His emotional reaction to that loss was not that of a person who's like, I'm done. He was like, fuck. You know, he's pissed that he lost. Of course, he wants to win. And, you know, he's sad. There's some sadness there, but it wasn't that of like, this ride's over, to me at least. It didn't seem that way. Now, obviously, he's kind of a weird guy, but like, I don't know. It just doesn't make me feel good at all watching that stuff. So I hope that, shit, man, I don't know. I mean, you know, what's he going to do? Again, I come back to that. So anyway, that's what I got. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Love you guys. Peace.